Irene Rutland is 45 years old, a widow with one daughter. She's a successful public relations officer with a large publishing firm, a respectable member of the community. In fact, she never put a foot wrong until one evening in November, when, after a long and tiring day at the office, she decided to eat out, with disastrous consequences.
Irene Mary Rutland, you stand indicted on 4 counts. On the first count, you are charged with wounding with intent, contrary to Section 18, Offences Against the Person Act, 1861. In that on the 16th of November 1973 at Fulchester, you wounded Raymond Arthur Mugridge with intent to do him grievous bodily harm. How say you, are you guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
On the second count, you are charged with wounding with intent, contrary to Section 18 of the Offences Against the Persons Act, 1861, in that on the 16th of November 1973 at Fulchester, you wounded Raymond Arthur Mugridge with intent to resist your lawful apprehension. How say you, are you guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
On the third count, you are charged with theft, contrary to the Section 1 of the Theft Act 1968, in that on the 16th of November 1973 at Fulchester, you stole a handbag and £15 contained therein, the property of Linda Margaret Brightson. How say you, are you guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
On the fourth count, you are charged with damaging property, contrary to Section 1 of the Criminal Damage Act 1971, in that you, on the 16th of November 1973 at Fulchester, without lawful excuse, damaged an ornamental table lamp, a table, a chair, 4 glasses, 4 plates, 2 cups and saucers, 1 Kona set and 1 cruet set, belonging to Spiros Plotanos, intending to damage such property or being reckless as to whether such property would be damaged. How say you, are you guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Members of the jury, to these 4 counts the defendant has pleaded not guilty, and it is your charge to say, having heard the evidence, whether she be guilty or not.
You may sit down. Mr. O'Connor.
My lord, members of the jury, I appear for the prosecution in this case, and my learned friend, Mr. Lotterby, represents the defence. This is a somewhat complicated case, in that the offences took place on 2 separate venues, but on the same evening. The train of events came to light when a police officer was called to the Kyrenia restaurant in Bridwell Road, Fulchester, to investigate a complaint by the owner, Spiros Platanos. I call Constable Mugridge. In what condition did you find the defendant?
The defendant was sitting at a table in a distressed state.
Was she drunk?
Well, that's difficult to say. She was certainly flushed and emotional, and there was a smell of whiskey.
And what about the restaurant itself?
That was in a most disorderly condition. Chairs and tables upturned, broken glass and crockery everywhere.
Who else was present?
The proprietor, Mr. Platanos, and a waitress.
Is that all?
Yes.
And of course it was their complaint to the police which had resulted in your going to the restaurant.
Yes. As a result of my investigations, I asked the defendant to accompany me to the police station. She became angry and made as if to hit Mr. Platanos. As a result, I told her I was arresting her.
And then what happened?
As we were about to leave, the waitress handed me a lady's handbag, which...
Oh, may we be shown the handbag? It's marked Exhibit 1. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Go on, Constable.
I asked the defendant if the bag was hers, and she said it was not. The waitress said she had found it under the accused's table. I again asked the defendant if the bag belonged to her. She denied it and became angry.
And how did this anger manifest itself?
She hit out with the shoulder bag she was carrying.
Perhaps it can be shown the other bag. It's marked 2. Is that it?
Yes.
Go on, please.
Then she made for the door.
But before she did that, what happened when she swung the shoulder bag?
It hit me, coming into contact with my face and drawing blood.
What was your reaction to this?
I was surprised. It's a big bag, but the force of it was out of all proportion.
What sort of injury did it inflict?
My nose was cut and bruised. I was stunned.
Were you able to continue your inquiries?
Oh, yes. At my suggestion, the waitress brought some ice cubes in a towel, and that helped stop the bleeding.
And later?
At the station, the police surgeon was called, and I was sent to hospital.
What happened there?
They x-rayed my nose and put 3 stitches in it.
Was it broken?
Yes, sir.
My lord, as Exhibit 3, I introduced an agreed document, a medical report confirming those injuries. You have a copy in front of you, I believe. To return to the restaurant, what happened after you'd recovered?
I opened the defendant's shoulder bag to see what could have given it such force, and amongst the contents I found a bottle of wine. That's it there.
Exhibit 4, my lord.
I then took Mrs. Rutland to the police station, where I cautioned her and charged her with wounding and damage to property. She made no reply. Later, she was released on bail.
Did you search the defendant?
I searched her bag, yes, sir. Amongst the contents on her, I found a purse containing £12.80.
I see. How was this made up?
2 £5 notes, 2 £1 notes, and the rest in 80p in silver and copper.
Right. And what happened about the handbag found in the restaurant?
As a result of further investigations, I again interviewed Mrs. Rutland the following day. She accompanied me to the police station, where I cautioned her and charged her with the theft of the handbag. She said she had never seen it until the waitress had produced it the night before.
Thank you, Constable.
You say the defendant was in a distressed and emotional state and there was a smell of whiskey?
Yes, sir.
Were there any other signs of drunkenness?
Well,
Or was his speech slurred, for instance?
no, not really.
And she was fully in control when she came to the police station?
Yes, sir.
So you couldn't really say that she was drunk. I mean, apart from being emotional and distressed, but not entirely surprising under the circumstances. There were no real signs of drunkenness, were there?
I suppose not. I couldn't really say there were.
No, thank you. Now, Constable, you must have been in a bit of a state yourself. Blow on the nose, blood everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Did Mrs. Rutland show remorse for what, albeit accidentally, she'd done to you?
She apologized, sir.
She was most upset, in fact.
She was sorry for what she had done.
Yes, I'm sure she was. She didn't admit any of the charges, did she?
No, sir.
She frequently and strenuously denied them, in fact.
She denied them, sir.
And of course you were not present when the alleged damage to property took place.
No, sir, but the place was in a most disorderly condition.
But you had no proof as to who had caused the damage.
There was no one else there.
How long did it take you to get to the Carina from the time you received the call?
About 5 minutes.
5 minutes, time for someone to leave without your noticing.
Possibly.
Did you search the premises on arrival?
Sir?
Did you search the rest of the premises?
No, sir.
Now, when did you tell the defendant you were arresting her?
The precise time, sir?
At what point of the proceedings? Refresh my memory for me, will you?
It was after she had made as if to hit Mr. Platanos.
Now, you're sure it was Mr. Platanos and not yourself?
Sir?
Mightn't you be mistaken? You said yourself that you were in great pain, stunned. Mightn't you have confused the timing?
Definitely not, sir.
The police, quite rightly, take a very serious view of attacks upon their colleagues, do they not?
Upon anyone.
But particularly against their own people.
We are in a more vulnerable position.
Agreed, and they are inclined to award commendations to those people who prove vulnerable during the course of their duty and are attacked. Is that not so?
In certain cases.
In your case, Constable, in March of last year, when you sustained an injury whilst in pursuit of a suspected thief.
Later convicted.
Exactly. Congratulations. But then conviction is, of course, essential, is it not? And you received a commendation from the Chief Constable.
Yes, sir.
Very helpful to a young officer on his way up the promotion ladder.
No, sir.
No? Well, you're not going to tell us it would hinder your chances, are you?
To be promoted, you first have to pass your exams. I have not passed mine yet.
But when you do, surely a commendation or two will help you on your way.
I would not go out of my way to get injured, sir, just for that.
Hmm.
Or commit perjury.
So, you say you arrested Mrs. Rutland before your injury was incurred. Why?
Because I had reason to believe that the defendant had caused a breach of the peace in threatening Mr. Platanos.
Tell me, how exactly were you hit by that shoulder bag?
The defendant swung it
Well,
round.
perhaps you might use the actual bag.
Thank you. Something like that, my lord.
It's a bit low, isn't it? How did it hit your nose?
I was bending down.
Oh, were you? Why?
Well, I'd lost my cap coming through the bead curtains.
Oh, I see. And of course it was of paramount importance for you to regain your cap. Tell me, you believed Mrs. Rutland intended to wound you?
She must have known it would do some harm, yes.
And yet, faced by this emotional woman, you bend down to pick up your cap, thereby giving her ample opportunity to attack you. Well, I find that most difficult to believe,
My
Constable.
lord, of course it is not necessary to prove intent to wound if the defendant was intending to prevent or resist arrest.
But we know that she had already been arrested and was going quite willingly to the police station.
And perhaps my learned friend can explain why she ran to the door.
Well, I have pondered on that point myself, or rather why she has been accused of so doing. My lord, perhaps I might be allowed to continue my cross-examination.
Of course. Mr. O'Connor, you can make your speech later, you know.
Yes, my lord.
I am obliged, my lord. Now, Constable, when you entered the restaurant, do you recall the door being locked behind you?
I don't think so.
Well, I'm afraid you must be more definite than that.
I cannot be sure, sir.
Well, my client will say it was not locked. Now, you say you were stunned by the blow. How long do you think you were semi-conscious?
Not really semi-conscious, sir, just stunned.
You were saying you were still aware of what was going on?
Yes.
Blood everywhere, in great pain. Well, you would agree you were somewhat distracted.
A bit, perhaps.
Yes. Now, you say the waitress had gone to the kitchen for the ice. What was Mr. Platanos doing?
He had fetched a clean towel and was making a pad of it to staunch the flow of the blood.
So everybody was busy. Everybody except Mrs. Rutland. You see, if the door was not locked, and if she had been contemplating evading arrest, she had the perfect opportunity, did she not? She could have escaped if she'd wanted to, couldn't she? There was no one to stop her, was there? And yet she stayed in the restaurant, helping to staunch the flow of your blood. Now, this handbag. Did you notice it in the restaurant before the waitress handed it to you?
No, sir.
So you took the waitress's word for it that the handbag had been found by the table at which Mrs. Rutland had been sitting, still there, although in your own words the place was in a most disorderly state.
There was no one else there.
Oh, we have already been into that. It means nothing at all. Anyone could have left that handbag in the restaurant at any time that evening. But, Constable, I'm sure we all of us sympathize with you over this painful injury. But you must admit that the rest of your evidence is, to put it mildly, somewhat circumstantial.
My lord, really?
Thank you, Constable, that is all.
Does your lordship have any questions? I call Spiros Platanos.
Spiros Platanos, please.
What religion are you?
Greek Orthodox.
Take the Bible in your right hand and repeat the words on this card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You are Spiros Socrates Platanos?
Yes.
And you are the proprietor of the Kyrenia restaurant, Bridwell Road, Fulchester, and you live above the premises. Will you tell us what happened on the night of the 16th of November?
Well, I'm in the kitchen cooking when my girl comes in and she tells me that...
We will hear your waitress's version later. But as a result of what she told you, you went out into the restaurant.
Yes. And there is this woman going off about the bill. She says it's too much.
And was it?
£2.30 for a big steak, chips, salad, everything. And 2 big whiskies.
Thank you, Mr. Platanos. My lord, I introduce as Exhibit 5 the bill. You have a copy in front of you.
Yes.
Is that the bill?
Yes, yes.
You explained the charges to her?
Of course.
And then what happened?
She goes mad. She starts to break the place, smashing everything. So my girl calls the police. Then when the policeman arrives, she goes mad again. She tries to hit me, he stops her, and she hits him. You should have seen him. What a mess.
Well, it didn't happen exactly like that, did it, Mr.
My lord,
Platten?
really?
Leading witnesses is against the rules, Mr. O'Connor, even if they happen to be foreign by birth.
With the respect, my lord, if I left the witness's evidence as it was, it'd be far more damning for the defendant.
Very well. Perhaps a little rephrasing?
Why do you think the woman tried to hit you?
Because she is angry, she is drunk, she does not like me for calling the police.
And after she tried to hit you, what happened then?
My girl gives the handbag to the policeman and she hits him. Her, I mean.
How did she do that?
With a handbag.
May we see Exhibit 2?
That's it. It's still got
Thank
the
you.
blood on it.
Please stay where you are, Mr. Platanos.
Mr. Platanos, why, if Mrs. Rutland had made such a fuss, why do you think she paid the bill?
She got to pay the bill.
Oh, really?
Anyway, she makes the fuss after she pays the bill.
She was still objecting. Then why had she paid? Did you perhaps threaten her?
Oh, threatened? No.
Was anyone else in the restaurant at the time?
Not when she makes the trouble. Was when she came in.
Was when she came in?
Yes, but they leave before she starts to make all the fuss.
How many meals did you serve that evening?
Oh, I don't
Oh,
remember.
come on, 10, 20, 30?
Maybe 10.
And your restaurant seats how many?
12 tables.
12 tables. That's maybe 50 people if squeezed in.
Maybe, it
And
depends.
yet on Friday night, for most places a busy night, you only serve 10 meals. Is your business doing well, Mr. Platanos? Now, what is that supposed to mean?
Nobody can afford to eat out anymore. 3-day week, unions, no electricity. People cannot afford to eat out anymore these
Thank
days.
you, Mr. Platanos.
In fact, you need every penny you can get, do you not?
Everybody need every penny they can get, even you.
But it does make it that little bit more tempting to overcharge, doesn't it, Mr. Platanos? Just that little bit more tempting to add those extra pennies to the bill. Hmm?
I am an honest man. I do not do that. I run a good restaurant. I serve good food.
Oh, I'm sure you do, Mr. Platanos.
Platanos.
So no one witnessed the incident?
My girl witnessed it.
Yes, you keep referring to my
Yes.
girl. To whom are you referring?
Shirley, my waitress.
I see, your girl.
She works for me.
But no independent
She
witness.
is independent witness.
One last question. When the policeman entered the restaurant, did you lock the door behind him?
There is no need. I only lock the door to keep her there until he arrive.
So whilst you and the waitress were attending to the policeman's bloody nose, she could have escaped if she wanted to, couldn't she? Thank you so much, Mr. Platanos.
Well, she come in and I took her order, served her a scotch while she was waiting, then a steak, then another scotch.
So, when did she make the fuss?
Oh, my lord.
When did you realise that something was wrong?
Well, after I gave her the bill, she called me back, said it was too much.
What did you do?
Well, I totted it up again, but it was right. She said she wanted to see the manager, so I went up back and told him and he come out.
Would you tell us what happened then?
Well, she told him it was too much too, and he said it wasn't.
Did she seem angry?
Yeah, very.
Now, did you ever hear him threaten her?
No. He's harmless, really.
Now, after the defendant paid the bill, what did you see then?
Well, he bring back her change, and they start arguing again about the tip or something, I'd know. Then she starts knocking everything about. So I called the police.
Yes, we've heard what happened when the policeman arrived in the restaurant and how you handed him a handbag that you'd found. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Where did you find it?
By the table where she was sitting. I thought it was hers.
When did you first notice it there?
Just then, when they were going out.
Thank you, Miss Flint.
Miss Flint, you're not married, are you?
If I was, I'd be Mrs., wouldn't I?
But you do have a child.
Yeah.
You live with your parents?
Yes.
Would you tell us how much you earn?
About £18 a week, and then there's tips.
Yes. How much did you make in tips in the week in question?
Dunno, not much.
Weeks previously?
Not much.
No, it would be true to say, would it not, that the amount you earned in tips had fallen off so drastically in recent weeks that you've been forced to take another daytime job.
Yeah.
So, like Mr. Platanos, you needed every penny you could get. What are your relations with Mr. Platanos?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, has he ever made advances to you?
Advances?
Has he ever asked you to sleep with him?
Well, he hinted at it, you know.
So he is quite fond of you.
Oh, I don't know about that.
He might seek to ingratiate himself with you.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean to the extent that he might lie for you, to carry favour with you, perhaps cover up for your overcharging of a customer.
What do you mean overcharging?
You say Mrs. Rutland seemed angry with your employer. Now, what about him? Was he angry with her?
Well, he just got a bit aerated. They do, don't they?
Aerated? Would you please explain, aerated?
Well, you know.
No, I don't. That's why I'm asking you to explain.
Well, sort of upset. Well, up in the air a bit.
Up in the air a bit, I see. Now, you said they do, don't they? Now, what did you mean by that?
Well, they're not like us. They don't mean it.
Who? Who is they?
Foreigners. You don't want to take any notice.
You know a lot of foreigners, do you?
In the restaurant business.
So
They nearly all are.
You'll be used to them, understand their ways.
Yeah, they're all right.
But other people might not be used to them, might not understand their ways, might not realize that you shouldn't take any notice, might perhaps get a little frightened when one of them gets a bit aerated. Yes?
He's not bad. Here, you're twisting it.
You say you thought the handbag you found belonged to Mrs. Rutland. Why?
It was where she was sitting.
But you already had one.
Well, that's more like a shopping bag.
All right, did you notice the handbag when she first came in?
I wasn't looking.
Oh, the restaurant was almost empty, but you didn't notice?
I was serving the other table.
I see. Where exactly was the bag placed?
Under the table.
Well, might it not have skidded there during the scuffle?
Leaning up against the leg.
Oh, so it was still balanced up against the leg of the table at which the whole incident occurred. In the midst of chaos, this one object remained undisturbed. The telephone call you made to the police, why did you do that? Did Mr. Platanos ask you to?
No, he didn't.
Did it quite independently?
Yeah.
It's hardly your place to do that, was it?
Well, it's always best to.
Always?
Well, when people cut up rough.
You get a lot of trouble in the restaurant then?
Well, no, not a lot. More drunks and things.
So you're used to it?
Yeah.
You always call the police?
They can handle it.
Handle what? One woman arguing over the bill? I should have thought you and Mr. Platanos could have handled that.
She was raving. Stuff was flying everywhere.
Why did Mr. Platanos make the call?
He couldn't, could he? He was dealing with her.
Oh, so she wasn't doing all the knocking about herself?
He was trying to stop her.
And you were frightened, were you?
Yeah, glass nearly hit me.
You've always been used to calling the police when trouble started, and you did it this time.
Yes.
It was too late to back down then, wasn't it? You had to have a good story ready for the police when they arrived, didn't you? Otherwise, they might not come another time, when you would really need them.
Bloody hell.
The case of the Queen against Rutland will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. The charges against Irene Rutland include wounding a police officer and damage to property, all arising from a chance visit to a local restaurant. We've heard accounts of her behaviour there from the injured policeman, the owner of the restaurant, and his waitress. Now, we're to hear what happened at a public house earlier the same evening, adding another charge of theft to the list.
What is your religion?
Church of England.
Take the Bible in your right hand and read aloud the words on this card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You are Linda Margaret Brightson?
Yeah,
And you live at 93 Elm Gardens, Fulchester?
yeah.
Miss Brightson, do you go regularly into the Carpenter's Arms?
I go there once or twice a week.
And one of these nights is usually a Friday.
That's the good music night.
Now, will you tell us what happened on Friday, the 16th of November?
We got there about 7.
We?
Me and my girlfriend, Sylvia Bartlett.
Why so early?
Well, they open 5:30.
Yes, but I thought the music didn't start until later.
8 o'clock. But you've got to get there early to get a seat.
Oh, yes, I see. Would you go on, please?
Well, my friend bought the first drinks. Then a couple of fellas we knew came over and got us some. I thought I'd buy a round before the music started, but I couldn't find my handbag.
Exhibit 1, please. Is that your handbag?
Yes, it is.
When was the last time that you'd seen it?
About half hour before, when I went to the ladies.
Did you look for it?
Oh, everywhere. And the landlord looked too before he phoned for the police.
When did you next see the bag?
The next day. A policeman, he came to my work and he asked me to identify it.
And what did you find?
Well, everything was still there, except for my pay packet with £15 in it.
Mrs. Brightson. Sorry, Miss Brightson. Would you tell the court how this £15 was made up?
Yeah, 2 £5 notes and 5 singles.
2 £5 notes and 5 £1 notes. Thank you. Will you wait there?
Miss Brightson, is Friday your payday?
No, Thursday.
Oh, you were still carrying your pay packet around with you the following day?
I always keep my notes in it, only change in my purse.
Oh, I see. You use the packet as a sort of wallet.
I suppose so.
How can you be so sure of the denominations of the notes that you had in your handbag that evening?
I beg your pardon?
Well, you say you had so many £5 notes and so many £1 notes. How did you know?
I always ask for 3 5s. One I give to me mum, and the other 2 and the odd pounds I keep for spending.
I see. Yeah, but you had 5 odd pounds. That would have made up another £5 note.
I'd lent my friend a couple of quid earlier in the week, and she gave it back to me that night. Well, you can ask her. She knew what I had in there.
Miss Sylvia Bartlett?
Yeah.
Now, whereabouts in the Carpenter's Arms were you sitting?
Near the stage.
Is that near the bar?
No, the other end.
Oh, well away from where would be the people who came in just to drink.
I suppose so.
Do you recognise the lady in the dock?
No, sir, sorry.
Please don't apologise, Miss Brightson. That is your handbag, is it?
Yeah.
Yes. It's a new one, is it?
Yeah.
What happened to the old one?
I lost it.
Did you? Thank you, Miss Brightson.
My learned friend has raised the question of the geography of the public house. Where is the ladies in relation to the table at which you were sitting and the bar?
About halfway between, roughly.
So any lady from any part of the lounge could have been in there at the same time as you, seen your handbag and taken it. Thank you. You are the licensee of the Carpenter's Arms?
I am.
On the evening of Friday the 16th of November, a Miss Linda Brightson reported the loss of her handbag to you. Is that correct?
Yes, that was just before 8. Well, I searched everywhere, but there was no trace of it, so I telephoned the local police station and reported it missing.
Do you see anyone in this court whom you recognise?
The lady, over there.
Is she a regular customer of yours?
Well, she's one of the people from the publishing firm down the road. They usually come in on a Friday evening, especially recently.
Especially recently?
Well, she, the accused. Now, she didn't come in till about 6 months ago, then she started coming with a man. I gather he was her boss.
Did you see her in your public house on the night in question, the 16th of November?
Yes.
At what time would that be?
Well, that'd be early on, 6:30, 7-ish.
Thank you, Mr. Gorman.
Is Friday night a quiet night for trade, Mr. Gorman?
It's one of the busiest.
Yes, that's what I would have thought, especially being a good music night. Yet you are able to pinpoint timings very accurately.
Well, you get used to it, looking after a busy place like that. You've got to keep your eyes open.
You say the loss was reported to you just before 8 o'clock. How can you be so sure of that? You said yourself you were very busy.
Because while I was talking to the young lady about where she might have lost the bag, the group started up. So I suggested we go through to my private quarters and discuss it there. Now, the group always starts at 8.
I see. Now, when my learned friend asked you if Mrs. Rutland was a regular customer, you said they usually come in every Friday night. Why the plural?
I beg your pardon.
Why they? You were being asked about Mrs. Rutland.
Well, she's one of the publishing group, and they usually come in on a Friday evening.
So you think of Mrs. Rutland as one of the crowd?
She is now, yes.
If you saw them all there at the bar, you would automatically assume that she was there as part of the crowd.
My lord, I must object. How can this witness give evidence as to what he would or would not automatically assume?
Yes, the question should really be, do you think you may be assuming that Mrs. Rutland was part of that crowd when, in fact, she was not there on that occasion?
I'm obliged, my lord. What, of course, I am trying to suggest is that in a business like Mr. Gorman's, seeing hundreds of people every day, it's understandable if he might confuse the times at which he is accustomed to seeing his customers with the times at which he actually sees them.
Quite.
Mr. Gorman, can you be certain at what time you saw the defendant, Mrs. Rutland, on the evening of Friday, the 16th of November? I want you to think very carefully before you reply. It is very important.
Yes.
At what time?
I'm sure it was the usual time, my lord.
The usual time.
Mr. Gorman, you say that this group of people, the publishing crowd, as you put it, always come in early and always on a Friday. Why do you suppose this was?
Well, I suppose they like to unwind, you know, a quiet drink to celebrate the end of another week.
Quite. And what time do they usually leave?
Oh, before 8. They can't stand the noise after that.
Did you ever hear Mrs. Rutland remark upon the noise?
Constantly. They all did. But the kids like it.
So it'll be mostly kids there later on?
Practically 100%, yes. They're the ones we cater for.
So an older customer will be rather more noticeable in that case, especially one who's always made a point of avoiding that part of the evening.
My lord, surely Mr. O'Connor is now guilty of the same offence of which I was accused.
My dear Mr. Lotterby, neither of you two learned gentlemen is on trial here. But I agree with the point you are making. Now remember, Mr. Gorman, you are on oath. Can you or can you not tell us at what time you saw Mrs. Rutland in your public house on the evening in question?
Well, perhaps not the exact time, my lord, but she was there.
Then let that be an end to it. Have you any further questions for this witness?
No, my lord.
Then you may go.
That concludes the case for the prosecution, my lord.
Thank you. Mr. Lotterby.
I call the defendant, Mrs. Irene Rutland. I want you to start from the beginning and tell us of your movements on the night in question. Now, what time did you finish work that evening?
Very late. There'd been a bit of an emergency, and the managing director had called a meeting which went on well after office hours.
Were you affected by that meeting in any way?
You mean upset?
Yes.
No, not really.
And after the meeting?
Well, it meant more work for me, and I was already behind, so I thought it best to stay on and clear some up before the weekend.
So at what time did you leave your office?
Just after 9.
And where did you go from there?
Well, I knew my colleagues would have left the carpenters hours before, but I felt like a drink. I needed one by then, so I went down there.
Did you stay long?
No, I couldn't stand the noise.
Did you speak to the landlord, Mr. Gorman?
No. I don't even remember seeing him there. It was so crowded.
So how long did you stay?
Not long, about half an hour. There was another smaller pub down the road, so I went there.
Which was that?
Oh, the George IV.
How long did you stay there?
Oh, longer. Nearly an hour. It was quiet, and I gradually unwound.
And then?
Then I was hungry, so I went to my usual restaurant, Jacoby's, but it was closed. A private party, they said. I knew there was another place, the other end of Bridwell Road, so I went there.
The Kyrenia?
Yes.
Had you ever been there before?
No.
Was there anywhere else within easy walking distance where you could have gone to eat?
No, it's not a very good area for restaurants.
So you went in and ordered a meal?
Yes, a steak, and I had a whiskey to drink while I was waiting.
What happened when the food arrived?
Well, I'd ordered a sirloin steak, but that was certainly not what I got. It was very tough and overcooked.
Did you complain?
Yes. When I got the bill, I could see that I'd been charged for a fillet steak instead of a sirloin anyway. And there was a cover charge, goodness knows what that was for, and 10% for service.
Exhibit 5, please. Is that the bill which was given to you?
No, it's not. The one I had was for £3.25.
Please tell the court in what way that bill differs from the one you were actually given.
Completely. Well, this is the sort of bill I should have had. There's no cover or service charge, and the amount charged for the steak is less.
Mr. O'Connor, who furnished you with this bill?
Constable Mugridge, my lord. It was given to him by Mr. Platanos at the restaurant.
Mr. Platanos gave it to the constable.
That is correct, my lord.
When you first arrived?
No, my lord.
Well, when?
As we were leaving, my lord.
Thank you. Mr. Lotterby?
So, Mrs. Rutland, to whom did you complain?
To the waitress. She took the bill away and then came back and said it'd been checked and was correct, so I asked to see the manager.
Now, what happened then?
Well, he came out and started ranting and raving. I couldn't make much sense of it, except that he kept saying I had to pay.
What was your reaction to this?
Well, at first I was rather annoyed, but then I got frightened.
Now, why frightened?
Well, he came very close to me, and he started pushing me and poking at me.
Now, what did you do?
I paid the bill. What else could I do? Then I got up to go, but he was still shouting at me. He was extremely rude, and then he started to manhandle me, and I was terrified. I tried to get away, and we fell against the table.
The one at which you'd been sitting?
Yes. The whole table went over, and my shoulder bag went with it. And then he got even more furious and said that I was breaking up the place.
And were you, Mrs. Rutland?
No, of course not. I was trying to clear up some of the debris, including the stuff that had fallen out of my bag. While I was doing that, he locked the door. I asked him to open it, but he said I had to stay there until I'd paid for the damage.
Now, what happened then?
Then the waitress came back and said the police were coming. I could hardly believe it.
How did Mr. Platanos react?
I must say he seemed surprised, too.
But nevertheless, he kept you there until the police arrived?
Yes.
And when they did?
It was just the one, Constable Mugridge.
Now, what did he do?
Well, he started to ask me questions, but Mr. Platanos was shouting and interfering, so the constable said it would be better if we went to the police station. I agreed.
You agreed?
Yes, anything to get out of that place.
But something occurred to stop you?
Just as we were leaving, the waitress suddenly produced a handbag which she said was mine.
Was it?
Oh, no, of course not. You've only got to look at it to see it couldn't be. It's much too young for me for a start.
Too young?
Well, I wouldn't buy a bag like that. It's a teenager's bag.
And you denied it was yours?
Yes, I did. But the waitress said it had been found by my table.
Could it have been?
Not at all. When I went in, I put my own bag down on the floor. I would have noticed another bag there immediately. And in any case, the whole table had been knocked over. It couldn't have remained in the same position.
Go on, please.
And then Mr. Platanos shouted that I was a liar and a thief. I turned round towards him, and that's when my handbag hit the policeman.
Did you intend to hit him?
No, of course not. He was only doing his job, and he'd been quite nice to me.
Now, what happened?
He was very calm, really. He asked the waitress to get him some ice cubes, and he asked Mr. Platanos to get him a cloth.
Now, what did you do?
I looked out of the window to see if perhaps there was another policeman in the car who could help.
You looked out of the window?
Yes.
You didn't go to the door?
Well, I couldn't. I was holding some tissues to the policeman's nose.
Now, when Constable Mugridge recovered, what happened then?
He arrested me.
Now, you are quite sure it was at this stage of the proceedings, after the constable had been injured, that he arrested you?
Quite sure.
Mrs. Rutland, how much money did you have in your bag when you entered the restaurant?
I don't know exactly, but it must have been about 15 or 16 pounds.
Did you count it?
No, but I'd been to the bank that day and I'd drawn out a cheque for 18 pounds and I had about 5 pounds on me, but I bought some wine with that.
My lord, I submit as Exhibit 6 Mrs. Rutland's bank statement, which indicates a withdrawal of 18 pounds on November the 16th, 1973. And it was the residue of this amount which was found on you the following evening.
Yes.
Mrs. Rutland, were you drunk that evening?
No, I was not drunk.
Thank you, Mrs. Rutland.
Can anyone confirm the time at which you allege you left your office?
Well, the meeting ended at 6:30.
No,
My
not
colleagues...
when you left your meeting, but when you actually left your office.
No.
The area of your firm's premises are quite considerable, I believe. Are you telling us that there is no one on duty there at night?
Well, no one would have seen me leave. My office is in the small annex. The last one out slams the outer door, locking it.
Very convenient. Now, this meeting, how did it go for you?
For me?
Wasn't it a bit unpleasant? There was some criticism of your work, I believe.
Well, some.
And you're not used to criticism, especially of your work.
Who is?
Well, this upsets you.
Not really.
Come now. You were upset.
Well, a bit, maybe.
In the public house, the first one you visited, did you see anyone there? You knew?
No, my colleagues would have left hours before, had done, as far as I knew.
What about the next one, the George IV? Anyone there?
I'd only been there once before. No one would know. But the manager at Jacoby's could tell you that I called in there.
At what time?
About 10:15.
So, in fact, no one can vouch for your whereabouts between 6:30, when you left your meeting, and 10 o'clock when you arrived at Jacoby's. So you could have been the Carpenter's Arms for a lot of that time, including the period when the handbag was stolen.
I have told you where I was.
But you cannot produce anyone to substantiate your claim.
No.
Do you usually order large drinks?
Not usually, but...
At the Carinian restaurant, you were drinking double whiskies.
I'd had a long, hard day. I needed a boost.
Still? How many had you had previous to that?
A couple.
A couple? Let me remind you. At the Carpenter's Arms, you had a drink. Was it large or small?
I don't remember.
And the one at the next?
As a matter of fact, I had 2 drinks there. I had a lager and a whiskey. I was there quite a long time.
Were you?
Yes, nearly an hour.
And the second drink at the Carinian, was that a double too?
Well,
Well, the bill shows 2 large whiskies. You did not dispute that part of it.
No, but I didn't finish it.
So by the time you'd finished, you'd had at least 6 measures of whiskey and a lager.
And I'd eaten a steak. I'd had a meal.
You ate the steak? But you said it was overcooked and tough.
Well, it was edible, just about, and I was very hungry. Anyway, it's not the sort of place that would do any good to send it back.
And you paid the bill, even though you disputed it.
Well, I had to.
And you said that even after Mr. Platanus had got his money, he was extremely rude. What did he say?
All sorts of things.
Specifically?
He said that I was drunk, and there was nothing lower than a drunken woman.
Well, you had quite a bit to drink.
I was not drunk. Good Lord, I've never been drunk in my life.
Really? Never in your life?
No.
Well, I wish we all had heads as strong as yours. Do you call yourself an emotional woman?
I know how to control myself, if that's what you mean.
Have you been having any medical treatment recently?
Yes.
Hospital treatment?
As an outpatient.
Where?
A county psychiatric unit.
Why?
Just for depression. After my husband's death, he died 6 months ago.
Has this affected your work at all?
No, no.
Or your emotional life?
No, it's just depression, that's all.
Wasn't it about 6 months ago when you first started to go to the pub with your crowd?
One gets lonely.
Oh, yes, of course. Did you drink a lot when your husband was alive?
No.
Now, you say it's not a very good area for restaurants.
No, it isn't.
Then why'd you go to the Kyrenia?
I couldn't face making a meal at home, and I was hungry. There was nowhere else.
So you should not have been surprised that the service and the quality were not up to your usual standard.
I don't mind about the service, but I do mind being overcharged for poor quality, badly cooked food.
And that was the reason for your complaint?
Of course.
Now, you said that Mr. Platanus was ranting and raving, extremely rude, was pushing and poking at you. Are you telling us that you stayed calm beneath all the abuse that he was heaping on you?
I wouldn't say that.
No, neither would Mr. Platanus. In fact, you lost your temper, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
It was beneath your dignity to be in such a restaurant in the first place. Then your complaint was ignored. Then the proprietor dared to suggest that you'd had too much to drink, which in some people's eyes you had.
I was not drunk.
Did you not call Mr. Platanus a dirty little foreigner?
I'd never say that.
Oh, perhaps under normal circumstances you would not. But you said yourself you'd had a long, tiring day. You were a little upset. And you had a number of drinks, too.
I was not drunk.
You said that Mr. Platanos manhandled you.
Yes.
Would you explain, please?
He grabbed me by the arm and he pulled me towards the door.
He simply took you by the arm?
Very roughly. And he shook me hard. And he was shouting all the time and spitting.
Spitting? He spat at you, did he?
I don't mean like that. I mean, when he was talking, the way he talks, he sort of spits at you.
Well, his spitting could not have caused much damage.
No, of course not.
Well, then what did? It was because you lost your temper, wasn't it?
No.
It was your violent reaction to it. You were furious with this dirty little foreigner for getting the upper hand, didn't you?
It's not true.
So you decided to lash out at him. You wanted to do as much damage as you could.
It's not true.
The case of the Queen against Rutland will be resumed tomorrow in the Crown Court. There are many doubts in the minds of the people in the Crown Court today. Doubts as to whether Irene Rutland really stole a handbag. No one saw her. And if she intended to injure a policeman who was arresting her for something she denies she did. Although much of the evidence is circumstantial, the arm of coincidence can only stretch so far.
Are you completely recovered, Mrs. Rutland? I could adjourn the court.
No, thank you. I'm all right now.
Very well. Do you wish to resume your cross-examination, Mr. O'Connor?
I do, my lord.
Very well.
Mrs. Rutland, you told my learned friend that you'd had about 15 or 16 pounds in your bag when you went into the restaurant.
Yes.
Had you only spent £7 during the previous day and up to that time on the 16th, in spite of your entertainment in 2 pubs?
Yes.
Had you not been shopping at all?
No, I always shop at the weekends for the whole week. I don't find time during the day. Except for the wine. I went out to get that at lunchtime. It was special.
Oh, yes. So we noticed. Chateau bottle.
What year, Mr. O'Connor?
66, my lord. Must have been a very special occasion to warrant a bottle of wine like that.
Yes, it was. I was giving dinner to someone.
But you didn't?
No.
Why not?
He wasn't able to come.
And when did you find out that he wouldn't be able to come?
After work at 6 o'clock.
How upsetting for you. A bad meeting, a row, and the man you'd invited to dinner stood you up. Enough to upset anyone, Mrs. Rutland, especially someone who's emotionally disturbed.
Oh, really?
You've stated that for the last 6 months you've been an outpatient at the psychiatric department of the county hospital.
Yes.
The most upsetting period of your life, Mrs. Rutland. 6 months. Now, you claim that Constable Mugridge arrested you after he'd sustained his injury.
Yes, that's right.
He says it was before.
I know.
Why do you dispute that?
Because it's not correct. Well, that's what we're here for, isn't it? To get things right?
Oh, yes, indeed, Mrs. Rutland. But I put it to you that the real reason that you are objecting and disputing the time at which you allege you were arrested is not because it's not correct, but because you realise it'll lead to the lesser charge.
Mr. O'Connor, I think it might be as well if I explained that aspect of the case to the jury.
I shall be obliged, my lord.
Now, you heard in the indictment of 4 charges, 2 of which were wounding charges. The first with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, and the second with intent to resist lawful apprehension, arrest. Now, if the defendant can prove that she was not told she was being arrested until after she had hit the policeman, she would naturally face the lesser charge. She could hardly be resisting an arrest that she didn't know was coming. I hope that clarifies the situation for you. Mr. O'Connor?
Thank you, my lord. Are you asking us to believe that you are not aware of this rather important demarcation?
I just want to get things right.
Mr. O'Connor, am I right in believing that neither of the other witnesses in the restaurant stated at what time during the proceedings the arrest was made?
Can't find as much in my notes, my lord.
I have been looking at my notes, my lord, and in fact no witness has testified to this.
No, if this is the case, they cannot do so now. An important point. Do you have any more questions, Mr. O'Connor?
No, my lord.
Do you wish to re-examine on any point, Mr. Lotterby?
No, thank you, my lord.
Very well, then. You may leave the witness box.
My only other witness, my lord, is the defendant's employer. I call Mr. Brian Hodge. Mr. Hodge, what is your position with the firm?
Chairman and Managing Director.
How long have you known the defendant?
She's been with the firm 7 years, and I've known her well for the past 3.
What is your opinion of her as an employee?
She's conscientious, loyal, and very talented. Her work has always been of a high standard, whether in her present capacity as public relations officer or her former one.
Which was?
Secretary to the man who previously held the post. She applied for the job after he tendered his resignation, and I agreed to let her try it for 3 months. She proved herself, and I've never regretted my decision.
And now that was 3 years ago.
That is correct.
How is she looked upon by her colleagues?
With the utmost respect. She's very popular with the lower orders, too, which speaks for itself.
Indeed. What about her honesty?
That goes without saying.
Oh, we'd rather you did.
I would trust her with my life.
In her official capacity, she would, of course, have to do a certain amount of entertaining.
Of course.
On these occasions, how did she conduct herself?
Perfectly. She's good at her job. She knows when one entertains one's customers, it's not for one's own pleasure, but for what benefit can be achieved by it, whether custom or goodwill. An impression has to be made, and Mrs. Rutland has always made a very good one.
Now, no doubt a certain amount of drinking is involved.
She has a trick as far as that is concerned. At the beginning of a session, she orders a whiskey and dry ginger, and then keeps adding ginger, so she keeps on top of the situation while the others may be, well, sinking somewhat.
So you have never seen her the worse for drink?
Good Lord, no, never. She would never still be in my employ if I had.
Do you meet her socially?
I have done, yes.
There's nothing unusual in that.
Of course not. Ours is a friendly organization. We don't stand on ceremony.
She is still, of course, in your employ.
Of course, she's an invaluable member of my staff. I would be very sorry to lose her.
I hope you're not prejudging the outcome of this case, Mr. Hodge.
My lord, whatever happens here has no bearing on my opinion of Mrs. Rutland as employee. It is simply that she told me she wishes to emigrate to Canada in the near future. She has a married daughter living there, I believe.
Is this a recent decision?
Well, Mrs. Rutland's husband died 6 months ago, and her daughter is her only family now. Soon after Mr. Rutland died, the daughter suggested her mother should join her in Canada. I tried to dissuade her, but she felt she would be happier there. Of course, whether she will be accepted for emigration now depends on the outcome of this.
Mr. Hodge, thank you.
Mr. Hodge, have there been any changes in her behavior since her husband died?
No. She was upset, of course, but she's coped with it well.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge.
Can I say something else?
If it is relevant to the case.
Well, I don't know really, but my colleagues and I regularly call in at the Carpenter's Arms for a drink, usually on Friday evenings. And as I say, I don't know if it is relevant, but I thought I'd mention there's someone in the court today I've often seen there.
Really? Would you identify him, please?
Not him, her. The young lady sitting over there.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge.
I suggest that you recall that witness, Mr. O'Connor.
Of course, my lord. If I may cross-examine this one first, though. You say you usually go to the Carpenter's Arms on a Friday.
That is correct.
Were you there on the Friday in question?
No.
Why not?
There'd been a meeting. It ended late, so I went straight home instead.
How late?
About 6:30, something like that.
Do you know if any of your colleagues went to the pub?
I don't think so. We all have homes to go to.
Mrs. Rutland hasn't.
Pardon?
She lives alone, doesn't she? There's nothing to prevent her going.
I believe she stayed behind working.
Do you know that?
She mentioned as much.
Yes, but do you know as much?
Yes. Well, she was still there at 6:30.
Did you speak to her?
Yes.
You say you went home?
Yes.
You're divorced, are you not?
Yes.
And you were on very good terms with the accused?
Yes, I was.
Still are?
Yes. Yes.
But on the day in question, would you tell the court how you felt about her then? Is it not true that the row mentioned earlier was in fact a direct conflict between yourself and the accused?
We had an argument, a discussion, nothing more.
And it was you who was going to Mrs. Rutland's for dinner, for whom she'd bought an extremely expensive bottle of wine.
As a matter of fact, it was.
And you saw her, did you not, and cancelled dinner?
Yes, but I don't see...
I do, Mr. Hodge.
Was she upset by this?
Naturally. I suppose it might have upset her, but it wasn't that important.
Really? Mr. Hodge, why did you try, prior to this meeting, to dissuade Mrs. Rutland from going to Canada?
My firm, we didn't want to lose her.
Wouldn't it be more accurate to say that you didn't want to lose her? For your own personal reasons? For the same reasons as you painted such a perfect picture of her just a few minutes ago? Thank you, Mr. Hodge.
Very well, you may stand down.
Thank you, my lord.
I recall Miss Shirley Flint.
I would remind you that you are still on oath.
I tender the witness for cross-examination.
I am obliged. So, Miss Flint, you regularly frequent the Carpenter's Arms public house, do you?
Sometimes, not regular.
You heard Mr. Hodge saying he remembers seeing you there.
I said I go there sometimes.
Usually on a Friday?
Not particularly.
Well, Mr. Hodge only goes there on Fridays.
Well, he's lucky to catch me then, isn't he?
Extremely. You happened to be there on the Friday night in question?
I was working that night, wasn't I?
Well, I take it you work most nights.
Yeah.
And how did you manage to go to the pub at all?
Well, Spiracy lets me come in later sometimes.
Oh, I see. So you would only be at the pub early in the evening?
When I do go, yes.
You could have done so on this particular Friday, could you not? Visited the Carpenter's Arms early in the evening, gone on to work at the Carrinia later, say at 8 o'clock.
I could have, but I didn't.
Didn't you, Miss Flint? Wasn't it you who removed the handbag from the pub?
No. No, I wouldn't.
Wouldn't you, Miss Flint?
No. I did go in early. Spiracy will tell you I did.
Oh, I'm sure he would tell me. You could then be independent witnesses for each other, couldn't you? Thank you, Miss Flint, that's all.
Do you want to re-examine Mr. O'Connor?
No, my lord.
You may go.
My lord, in an attempt to clear this matter up, I would like to ask for the publican, Mr. Gorman, to be recalled.
Indeed.
I call John Gorman.
May I remind you, too, Mr. Gorman, that you are still on oath?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Mr. Gorman, you've heard Mr. Hodge say that he remembers seeing Miss Shirley Flint at the Carpenter's Arms. Now, you have seen Miss Flint in the witness box. Do you remember seeing her at your pub?
Yes.
Do you call her a regular customer?
Well, not regularly, exactly. She's been in quite a few times.
Enough times for you to recognize her here, anyway. Can you remember seeing her on the night of Friday, the 16th of November? The night when Miss Brightson lost her handbag?
No, I'm sorry, I can't. It's going back a while now.
And you said yourself it was very crowded that night.
Yes, it certainly was.
Even earlier on, I suppose.
Well, Fridays always are. It's hard to know who's there and who's not.
Indeed, Mr. Gorman. On Friday nights, it's hard to know who's there and who's not. Thank you very much.
Members of the jury, let us consider the facts of this case. First, the accused was at both the venues concerned. She admits that herself, and there are witnesses to prove it. Now, she says that she arrived at the Carpenter's Arms after the handbag had been stolen. But no one can support her story. Remember that she was usually there at 6:30 p.m. But on this night, on this single occasion, she says that she decided to go later, even though she has admitted she hated the noisy music. She knew her friends would not be there, and she knew of a quieter pub nearby. She cannot produce one witness to say that she was not there from 6:30 p.m. Now, I put it to you that she was at the Carpenter's Arms at the time that the handbag was stolen, which was later found in a restaurant under a table at which she was sitting. Can we be expected to believe such a coincidence? Consider the money involved. There were £15 missing from the recovered handbag, 2 £5 notes and 5 £1 notes. When Mrs. Rutland was searched at the police station, she had in her possession 2 £5 notes and 2 £1 notes. There was also 80p change. Now, the bill in the restaurant amounted to £2 and 30p. So prior to paying the bill, the accused had in her purse almost the exact amount that was missing from the handbag. Is this also a coincidence? Irene Rutland went into that restaurant as a last resort. We have established that she is under psychiatric care, depressed because of the death of her husband, and on the evening in question, considerably upset. Firstly, because of the criticism levelled at her by her employer, and then by his rejection of her invitation to dinner. She was an unbalanced and emotional woman. You yourselves saw how prejudiced she was against the type of restaurant it was, and the kind of man that she considered the owner to be. The defendant has admitted to drinking what normal people would call an excessive amount of alcohol when she was asked to leave by the proprietor, which was his right. She lost her control completely. She lashed out at him, doing considerable damage to his property, and it was this behaviour which led to her attack on the police constable shortly afterwards. Now, while I have no wish to minimise the seriousness of the other charges in this case, the first two, the wounding charges, are the prime concern. Violence in any form is abhorrent in a civilised society, and even more loathsome when it is inflicted upon those officers who are there to uphold the law. This woman had already attacked the proprietor, so her assault on the police constable could not be excused as uncharacteristic or done on the spur of the moment. She had every reason to evade arrest. She had stolen a handbag. She had stolen a purse with money in it. She had wreaked havoc on an innocent man's property, and she was obviously drunk. Now, you've heard her employer's testimony. Are we really to believe it? Coloured as it is by his feelings towards her. Ladies and gentlemen, you see before you a woman who, quite frankly, should know better than to behave in this manner. And her personal difficulties are no excuse for the deplorable behaviour on this night. I put it to you that you have no alternative but to find her guilty on every count.
My lord. Members of the jury, I want you to take a good look at this lady who is accused of these absurd charges. This is Irene Rutland. And I want to ask you whether you can believe she is the hellion described by the prosecution. You've come to know Mrs. Rutland here in this court, and I'm confident that you will have assessed her character very much as I have, and as her employer, Mr. Hodge, has, and as her colleagues have at her place of work. And I'm confident that, like myself, you will be finding it impossible to believe Mrs. Rutland capable of the violent acts described by the prosecution. However, let us look at the prosecution's charges one by one and see if we can't show them up for the empty accusations they are. Now, my learned friend has suggested that Mrs. Rutland has lied about the time that she was in the Carpenter's Arms public house. Well, let's face it, she had no reason to admit she'd been there at all. She saw no one she knew, and as far as she was concerned, no one had seen her. So she could have denied being there at all and saved herself a lot of bother, but that is not Mrs. Rutland's way. She has promised to tell the truth here in this court, and that is what she has done. Now, the publican has said he saw her that evening, but he couldn't pinpoint the actual time. Indeed, when I asked him whether he'd seen the restaurant waitress, Miss Shirley Flint, in his pub that night, he said that on a Friday night it's hard to know who's there and who's not. So can we expect him to remember a particular Friday night in November of last year? Well, let's look at Shirley Flint's evidence. She grudgingly admitted that she does go to that particular pub on Fridays, and, significantly enough, you may think, it was she who discovered Miss Brightson's lost handbag leaning up against the leg of the table at which Mrs. Rutland had been sitting, and which, according to other prosecution evidence, had by this time fallen over. It's a most remarkable handbag, this, to remain propped up against the leg of an upturned table. I submit, ladies and gentlemen, that it is just as likely that Miss Flint stole that handbag as that my client was responsible. Indeed, you may think more likely. However, be that as it may, at no time was that handbag seen in the defendant's possession. At no time. Well, I don't think we need dwell on the evidence of Mr. Platanos, the restaurant owner. It is, I am sure, sufficiently clear to you that his evidence, like that of his girl, Miss Flint, is, to put it mildly, somewhat biased. As to the money involved, the prosecution has compared the amount missing from the stolen handbag with that found on Mrs. Rutland when she was searched at the police station. But what's there to compare? No matched numbers. Indeed, members of the jury, if you were to look at your own wallets, your own handbags, you would most likely find the same sort of notes in your possession. And you've all seen Mrs. Rutland's bank statement, which indicates quite clearly that she withdrew £18 on that particular day. Well, now let's consider the claim of the young police constable that Mrs. Rutland deliberately assaulted him. Now, why should she do this? It's been established that she was going willingly to the police station with him before the incident occurred. Why should she suddenly turn on him like a cornered animal, savagely beating him across the face? I mean, is it at all likely? No, members of the jury, however much we quite rightly sympathize with the young constable for his painful injury, it is obvious that it was an unfortunate accident. As for attempting to resist her lawful apprehension, well, the door was unlocked, and yet my client made no attempt to run away. No, she was much more concerned for the young policeman to whom she was administering help. An act hardly in accordance with the picture my learned friend had sought to paint of a violent, disturbed drunkard. Ladies and gentlemen, my client's greatest wish, indeed her only hope for happiness, she feels, is to rejoin her daughter and son-in-law in Canada. Well, members of the jury, that depends upon your verdict here today. And with the overwhelming doubts that I'm sure are in all your minds, your verdict can only be not guilty on all counts.
Now, although compassion is allowed, and indeed it is encouraged in these courts, it must be employed after you have made up your minds as to the guilt or innocence of the accused, and not before. It must be based upon the evidence as it's laid before you and your assessment of it. What happens after the outcome of this trial is of no interest to you, and you must erase from your minds any consideration that may have wrongly been implanted there by the defense. Now, I've explained, I think, the demarcation of the two wounding charges, but you still might be confused about the verdicts that you may bring in. Now, if you think Mrs. Rutland did not intend to evade arrest, you must dismiss that charge against her, but still consider the first charge, wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. And in that case, you must make up your minds whether or not she intended to injure the constable. Now, if you find or you think that Mrs. Rutland was trying to evade arrest and find her guilty, you must still consider the grievous bodily harm charge. They are not alternatives. Now, the other two charges, I think, are quite straightforward and need no further exposition from me. But remember, it is for the prosecution to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt. And should you think that there was a reasonable doubt about any one of the 4 charges, then it would be your duty to return a verdict of not guilty on that charge. Now, members of the jury, I will ask you to retire to consider your verdict.
All stand. Just answer this question, yes or no. Have you reached verdicts upon which you are all agreed?
Yes.
On the first count, do you find the defendant Irene Mary Rutland guilty or not guilty of wounding with intent to do grievous bodily harm?
Not guilty.
On the second count, guilty or not guilty of wounding with intent to resist her lawful apprehension?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of you all?
Yes.
On the third count, guilty or not guilty of the theft of a handbag and £15?
Not guilty.
On the fourth count, guilty or not guilty of damage to property?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of you all?
Yes.
Mr. Justice Campbell sentenced Irene Rutland to 18 months suspended prison sentence for wounding with intent to evade her lawful apprehension and a fine of £40 for damage to property plus £28.40 restitution. Next week, a chance to join the jury in assessing another case in the Crown Court.